I get the vibe that you're distant. There's something about you that's different. I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. It is a lie when you tell me that nothing is wrong, just leave it be. But I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hey, Rodney, how are you?
Good, Andy. How are you doing?
You know what? It's been a full week already, and it's going to be good. Things are changing. Things are rocking and rolling. I know things are going different, exciting in the lending world, aren't they?
It's a nice little roller coaster right now. It's fun to be in my shoes.
Yeah. Here, I brought something for you. I'm going to put on my professor glasses because we're going to school today. That's what we're doing. That's what's going to happen. We're going to learn some really weird stuff today. So.
Nice. How so today's Tuesday. How's it been a full week so far? What's going on?
Well, we've got. I'm working with somebody out in, believe it or not, Bell Buckle, which
Yeah.
is it's outside of my service area, but it's somebody that I know, and it's I think we're going to have an auction out there for
Oh,
60 some acres, and so I was able to take my drone out. We went out and sort of previewed the property, and I took the drone out and flew around. It was raining a little, so I wasn't able to stay in the air a long time. Um, but that's all, and it was just it's exciting to be able to look at that kind of a thing. That's
yeah.
it was neat.
They got any kind of stuff on that property, like any creeks or stuff like that, as far as their ponds or anything?
What the property does have that is cool if you know and I've been down to Bell Buckle a few times, but there's a lot of hills. I'm Colorado guy, so there's definitely not mountains, but there are hills. There's a lot of hills down there, rolling hills. And on this property, there's one hill. It's on 62 acres, but in the middle of the property, it rises to 1,205 feet.
Wow.
I mean, so, and that's what I was trying to catch a view of, and we got a nice sort of an idea from it with the drone of if you were to cut a way up there, um, what would the view be like? And it would be spectacular.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're just in the early stages of that. So if somebody has interest in that, feel free to text me or call me. But there's nothing going to happen for a little while. We're just getting our legs under us. But still, it was exciting. Kind of a long. I forgot how long of a drive it is down
Yeah.
there. Of course, do you ever go hunting down there? I don't know. Do you hunt just in Arkansas or
Pretty much just Arkansas.
okay?
Pretty much just ducks and Arkansas.
And that's done for the? Is that is it is it?
It's like their fly pattern, from north to south, from
Oh,
like Canada to south.
right.
You
And
know,
so
they're migrating.
is it hunting season now?
No, no. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay, okay. I don't know anything. I know nothing about that sort of stuff. But anyway, so anybody that's ever seen our stuff before, what's going to happen is we're going to start with Rodney's rant.
I keep thinking it's got some kind of like Michael Jackson theme to that. The Jackson Five, I guess I should say.
Yeah, we got it's gospel, man. Hit
All
me.
right. Kicking off today's rates, you can see the 30 year mortgage backed security at 5%, 5.5%. It's up today 5 basis points. You can see the S&P is down 23. The 10-year treasuries at down 7 bips as well. And you can see as I scroll on the chart here, all the far right, we've had a few days of green, 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 starting to get a little bit better after I guess that announcement that I lost a quarter to you on. So, what
So
day was that? That was
when that goes up, rates go down. Is that right? Do I have that right?
green is good. Green, when we see green on here, that means the rates are decreasing.
Got it. Got it.
Uh, I will point out one thing here that I really like my service. Do you see these little triangles right here
Yes.
at the top of each of these things?
Yes.
These these triangles mean, as you can see, I pull that up there. It says alert to lock 11:29, and then received this alert to lock at 4:51, and he's timed it pretty good. You don't, if you think the guy he puts these on there, you can see all the way across the tab. They tell us when to lock, right? They send me a message saying, "Hey, if you got any customers, you better lock them right here." And you see what happens every time he's given a lock. It's dropped right after he's given it. So that's the service that I kind of use to tell us that when to lock and when not to.
And for somebody that's not familiar with it, what you're saying, when you're locked, if you're getting ready to buy a house and you like the rate that you're at, when you say lock, the potential for it being a worse rate in the next little bit goes up. Is that correct?
Yes, whenever this service notifies me, MBS Highway, Berry Habib, whenever they notify me, alert me that the market is deteriorating or getting
Yeah.
worse,
Yes.
we pass that information along, and the customer obviously has a choice where they'll still lock or float or whatever. But his track record is always like this. If he gives us alert to lock, we notify our customers and lock everybody we can possibly lock in before it gets worse.
I get it. And that's going to make especially the people that are in the hunt. I mean, they are on the verge of finding the house of their dreams or ready to make that purchase, pull the trigger, so to speak. Those are the guys that you're talking to, really, right?
Correct. Everybody who pretty much has or is really close to finalizing a contract or know which house they're going to buy, has got a contract on it. Correct.
Got it. Because alert to lock means in the near future something's going to happen. But I guess the bottom line is, as you can see across the board, given a little more time, things change again, right? I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Exactly. Yes. And the good thing about it is, if we do lock one in, we always have the customer has a float down option available, whether it's through the investor or through us. So it's basically a rate renegotiation policy that most people have.
Okay. And man, they're really, when you look across that, it's been a wild ride here for a little bit.
It's been good, hasn't it?
It's been wild.
I'm ready for it to settle down.
You say that again?
I'm ready for it to settle down a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh God, I hear that. So, all right. So here we go. I love that sound. I mean, it's gotta sit on my shirt,
Get those glasses back on.
That's right. I should have had those on.
Yeah.
It reminds me too much of my brother. I love my brother, but I don't want to look like him. So, so here's my question, Rodney. I always put you on the hot seat starting out usually, and it says some of the stuff that I've been reading, and for anybody that is new to our live stream, Rodney Wilds is a lender here in Williamson County. I'm also a real estate agent here in Williamson County. Our goal here is just to chat. We like talking to one another and learning things. We go through the news and find things that are interesting. But our goal is, if you have questions, no matter where you are, you can call, text, or send us an email. All that's in the description box. You can send us those questions or just have a conversation with us anytime. We're not limited by that. We may or may not be able to help you where you are, but in general, I think that we probably can. So we're not here to try to convince you of anything, just here to share some knowledge. That's the whole purpose of this thing, and we love doing it. We have a lot of fun on this thing. So the Fannie Mae, what is this?
The Fannie Mae.
The Fannie Mae and the Freddie Mac and Gary. The IRS, so I get it. So Fannie Mae eliminated appraisals, or that's what they're talking about. And I
Mhm.
know on some of our deals in the last few months, you were able to waive appraisals a little more easily than in the past, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, what Fannie Mae is saying is they've come out. Looks like they've come out with a new category of like it's kind of the one they have a appraisal waiver, right? It basically says if you run it in there, if you run automated underwriting system, which is DU or LP, you get what's called you could get an appraisal waiver, meaning that you put the input, the address of the property, the contract price, and there's so much data that Fannie Mae has gotten through their appraisal scoring system over the last several years. I
Right.
mean, they know when your subject house has been used as a comp on another appraisal, and why does this appraiser call it, this square footage versus that square footage, this condition versus that condition? Fannie Mae has the data. Okay, so when they see a property, they're like, okay, we trust the value is there. We have enough data on the neighborhood or whatever it is. We say the value is there, and then they give the customer an option of an appraisal waiver. We go to the customer and say, hey, Fannie Mae loves the valuation just like it is. We don't need an appraisal if you don't want one. You've got day one certainty or whatever that the loan's going to be bought or whatever.
Right.
So the customer then can choose to either waive the appraisal or go ahead and pay for one and get one. So the second category is what the article is today about, is where it's looking like an appraisal waiver plus some data. I think it had a different terminology in there, but that's basically what it is. Um, and that's the message from this article today. It's a little bit different. It's something new that this company has done. There's about 4 or 5 companies Fannie Mae will use, and this company is one of them to help get that data.
Got it. And is there, in your opinion, I hadn't thought about this, and I think that's why I love this broadcast. The thing that got Zillow iBuyers in trouble was their automatic valuation model, AVM, and that ultimately led to their demise, was turning over to machinery comps. My bet is, and I'm asking, I say my bet because my guess is, for any of the appraisals that are waived by Fannie Mae, I bet those particular properties are an absolute lock, at least in their data mind. Would that be fair?
Yes, yes, they have enough data. Like you're not going to see a bunch of appraisal waivers, or at least right now we haven't seen appraisal waivers like in further out areas. I mean, it has to be an area where there's just a ton of data,
Yeah,
right?
like McKay's Mill.
Yeah, and it has to be priced appropriately as well, or else that's not or that's going to take it out of the consideration.
Isn't that an interesting argument, though? Isn't that an interesting? That's another data point for a buyer to be comfortable with the purchase price. Now, it may or may not be comfortable for them if it's over by $1,000, but still, that's an interesting data point right there. Now, I was reading that Fannie Mae is going to do a lot of, or probably all the, what are those called? GSO, government sponsored organizations. Is that what they are?
GSEs,
GSE, Enterprise.
government sponsored, yeah. But Fannie wouldn't be doing that. I know Fannie and Freddie's technically the government because they bailed them out and they still own them, I
They're
guess.
private, right?
Do what now? It was.
They're private, right?
During the buyout, the government took Fannie and Freddie over.
Oh,
So it was like there was no way they was going to let Fannie or Freddie collapse because they back most of the mortgages. So the government took them over and has made a killing ever since then. I mean, they have They paid first of all, they did pay they paid the government back, but they're still making money now. But I don't really have an issue with who owns Fannie or Freddie. I mean, that's but it is the crux of our business. It is the people who, without Fannie, we don't really have loans. So
Isn't that that is now in Fannie and Freddie. You'd think that I'd know this stuff by rote because I've been an agent so long, but for anybody that's watching, for me personally, when I have lending questions, and this is the way I treat my clientele, I send them to Rodney. And the reason is, it isn't that I don't want to know about these different things or these specific areas like we're just talking about here. But that's not my job, and I don't mean that like I'm trying to push it away. One of the responsibilities this is just in my humble opinion, for a realtor, is to not claim knowledge in a profession that you're not doing. In other words, I don't act like a lender. I don't want to come off like a smart person and talk about a bunch of lending stuff, because what if something changes during the course of a week or a month and that turns into be bad advice? Well, that's not what I'm shooting for. So
right.
When we're talking about these things, it isn't that I don't know on some level, because I do, but I always check everything with Rodney. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's no different, Andy. I think it's very similar to how, when we start off this rates, I don't pull up a spreadsheet with Rodney's name on it. I pull up I pull up my system from more, MBS Highway, that these guys are experts in the market. They're on top of the market every 3 seconds. That's their job. I can't do that and do mine. So basically, that's why I have that service, is to say, provides me with that support that I need to so I can be able to, like you say, so I can be who I need to be for the client, right? I need to advise them on rates and things like that. And I honestly, I don't want to take a Series 6 or a Series 7, learn all about these stocks and bonds. I mean, this MBS Highway tells me everything I need to know about what to do, what's happening, gives me a really good understanding where I can translate that, just like you are. I don't want to give it tax advice. You're not going to give tax advice.
Oh, God, no.
We're going to stay in our lane and rely on our professionals around us to give good advice.
Yeah. And I think I'm familiar with all of it, and I know. Well, that's all I'll say. It's not a CYA thing. It's about servicing people the best that I possibly can, and sometimes that means stepping away. And when it comes to lending, I always say, that's a Rodney question, not me. It's a great question, but it's not for me. So, and what did I read that those entities are changing other things as well, or is that beyond the scope of this conversation?
Those entities like this Clear. What was the name of it?
Clear Capital, I see.
Yeah, there's about 4 or 5 of them that are offering data. Like what it's saying is, you might not get the full appraisal waiver, but you might get like a partial appraisal waiver, and then you get property data from this other company instead of an appraiser. Okay. Instead of having an appraiser look at it, you're going to have a report generated by this company that wrote that article, or those other 4 or 5 that do business with Fannie and Freddie. And now that will be coming out.
As a realtor, hopping back into my lane, if I'm helping somebody buy a house and we have the ability to eliminate the appraisal, that really strengthens our position if in fact we need to do that, like we're competing with another buyer or something like that. Now, it may or may not be waived automatically by their lender if there is a competition or multiple offer, but coming in, it'd be pretty easy if we knew that going in. That's a pretty cool thing to make the seller feel better, because in the past, the way that works, you make an offer. When you come to an agreement, if in the end, when the appraisal is done, if it doesn't rise to the level of the offer, then you're at a negotiation point again, one way or the other. You can walk away. And
Right.
if you can eliminate that uncertainty for the seller, that's a benefit for the buyer. So, but you're saying there's different flavors, different versions of this wave. Not to belabor the point, but you're saying there's different versions, right?
Yes, they did. They basically got an appraisal waiver where it's just like, we don't get an appraisal. And then
Yeah.
that second one is what they're talking about now, is where you don't get an appraisal, but you get your property data from one of these 5 companies that Fannie's doing business with.
Got
It's kind of in between that and a full appraisal, I guess. It looks like they're trying to cut appraisers out of the they're trying to cut appraisers out of the process, which is I'm gonna wait and see how this one works out.
What you don't really mean that?
I mean,
long. That's quite a statement.
They've been collecting data to do this exact thing forever. They've been. It's like, because one, the appraisal is a little bit subjective, right? In my opinion, right?
100%.
The appraisal standards it's difficult. And for an appraiser to become an appraiser now, they have to go through 4 years of school and like 1 or 2 years of an apprenticeship with an appraiser. So I'm like, man, that is a lot of schooling for, I don't know, a technical trade or however you call it, like that. I mean, Andy, that's just a lot to me. And it's what we're seeing is we see very few apprentices. Like, I don't know of any apprentices out there anymore. And it's like, well, where are they going to refill their kind of their need for appraisers? So I just think the industry is definitely changing. Are they getting rid of them totally? I don't know, but it's sure going down that path. Like they're going to start using data and like these services that can provide floor plans and things like that and pictures, so they don't have to have this appraiser.
Yeah, and I've witnessed a lot of situations where an appraisal didn't come back and like nobody was like, no way, there's no, and we got a second opinion and it came through just fine without talking to the second guy about the first guy, just
it's like it's a lot opinion based, but the good thing about it is, in that article, Fannie Mae talks about a free service called collateral underwriting. And basically, that's a fancy term for when you run an appraisal through a scoring system. Fannie Mae can provide you with that collateral underwriting report, and it has what Fannie thinks is their top comps. It says 1 through 20. And so if the appraiser didn't use 1, 2, or 3, or 4, it's like that appraisal is not going to score well.
Huh? Really?
And then so you could say you could go to the appraiser and say, hey, can you tell me why you skipped over this comp that's right next door, because Fannie thinks it's their best comp. So can you tell me why you skipped it or add it to the report? And that's a good way to get them to relook and they're like, well, why did Fannie think it was so good? And then we can give them that data. We'll just have some conversations. And it's never about value. It's always about comps and things like that, because sometimes they have raised the value to improve the score.
Yeah. And the thing about the what is it, AMC? Appraisal management companies. I mean, like appraisals are a lot of appraisers are going to lobby they're going to be favorable to Williamson County. I know we talked about Williamson County because that's where Rodney and I live. It's just, and I've said this before, I rated this up the other day. Williamson County is now the 22nd wealthiest county in the nation and the only one in the South out of the top 100 in terms of the wealth ranking. So we're 22. So a lot of people, they like it here because it's affluent. Well, with the AMC, that's a lottery thing, and when stuff comes through, appraisers can pick and choose. They can decline, and I mean, if you get a problematic property, you can get in a situation where no appraisers pick it up, and you have to. I mean, that can happen. If it's a weird wonky one.
Or especially with the AMC's. We have you try to have the for us how we handle the appraisal management is just we have just a rotating engine, so
Oh,
it's not a management company that per se that looks at them. It's just we have our panel appraisals and we rotate throughout those.
right. And the reason I bring that up is simply this: is that this goes back a few years before uh, um, everybody got a handle on. They're doing such a better job, but there'd be guys coming in from the corner of the state down to Williamson County that didn't know anything about
Right.
us.
Yeah.
Trying to do appraisals, and it's more than just data. You kind of have to know the area a little bit. Anyway,
Yeah.
that so if you're in the situation where you can get an appraisal waived, if you're the real estate agent working with somebody, or if you're the client and have an agent working for you, understand that can depends on how you want to play it, but that can be to your benefit if you it can remember your job when you're buying a house is to do everything you can to get the seller to say yes. Make it as easy as possible for them to say yes, and eliminating uncertainty. For example, the appraisal is a big one because that can just trash a deal in a minute.
And more about fear than actual reality. I mean, we work out, 99.9% of every appraisal, whether it comes in low or high, it gets worked out generally. I mean, it's rare
Yeah,
that it doesn't get worked out. So, yeah, I mean, but to go in on the front end is especially a positive.
especially a positive, and like there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's for darn sure. And the rules have changed since the appraisal gap problems we had the last couple of years. That really we haven't had any of that for a little while now.
No, no, which is good. That appraisal gap was none.
So now that we're looking at things, I want to show you something, Rodney. Here is there was an when we all talk about rates, we all talk about our wallet, we all talk about money, to interest rates, and it costs more, it costs less, it's up, it's down, it's kill me now, it's crazy, right? Well, I thought this one article about the history of mortgage rates could put things into perspective for us.
It
So
does, doesn't it? Yeah.
here's what that looks like. And we're going back in time just a little bit. Like, what are some of these rates? Back in, I can't read these, and it's not live, so hang
It looks like 17% or something like that.
on. That's what it was. I wonder if that would. Oh, here we go. Hey, here's what I'm going to do. Bear with me. But this will. Um,
I tell you something I always say about these while you're pulling it up.
yeah.
If you take, I always say this, like if you take the last time you bought a house and you put it on that graph, um, would does it change your mind or your thought process any about how people stress about rates when they're buying? I don't know. Someone calling me. I don't know, Andy. What?
Anybody
I don't.
else get spam calls? I do.
Somebody may have been calling my I don't know.
So
But
now, what was your? Sorry, that threw me out. What was your question? Now, what did you say?
like leave that cursor right there where you're at. What month is that?
That is 1996 at 7.93.
All right, let's say you're buying in 1996. And normally when you're buying, you've got like a month to lock in a rate or 2 or 3 weeks to lock in a rate. And so you're just going to be on that graph wherever the rates are when you buy. And then when it gets low, you need to refinance. And that is, it's about as simple as you can put it. Like everybody, when I talk to people, it's like, well, I want to time the market to get the lowest rate. Well, it's virtually impossible. You can
Yeah.
only do that within a day or two, right? Like how the service helps. So it's like if you're buying in that time period right there within 30 days, you're stuck in that range, that rate range right there. No ifs, ands, and buts about it, right?
Yep.
It is what it is. That's all I'm saying is like people try to time the market with rates and things like that, and it's just like you're buying when you're buying, and that you really don't have much choice in it. I mean, you just time it as good as you can right then.
Yeah, because timing the market is it's like you said, not to beat a dead horse, but just forget it. I mean, there's so much energy spent on trying to. If you're in the stock market, I don't understand that at all. But I get by the dip on that. But when you're mortgages and houses, because the reason this struck me, here we are thinking about stuff, and this is from, and I'll go back in a minute from. What was that? I mean, okay, so we can take our worst case scenario. It was 18% in 1981. Okay, thankfully we're not there. But from 1995, for example, it was 8.73, call it 9, all the way to 2007, it was 6. So for 10 years, 11 years, whatever, it was riding around 6 or 7%. And business was pretty good back then.
Yes, sir.
That's my whole point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you go from that bottom down there and it goes up so sharply, we're all going to have to adjust to that a little bit. We're all going to have to get, how it is, getting used to a new normal,
Oh yeah, but it just strikes me that, and you watch. I mean, this will be for people in the future for sure, but 10 years from now, we'll go through this historical data, these bumps and these dips where we are right now, and it'll be like another crazy time like back here.
Yeah.
It'll be that same sort of thing, and I'm not making light of the situations where if you're a first-time home buyer and this puts you in a pinch where you get a little bit less house. I'm not saying that's not important, because it is
Right.
it's
Right.
a big deal. But like Rodney, you said a couple of weeks ago, they did something to do with PMI that people can save $800 a year, right?
Yeah, and it's actually we're seeing a nice little increase in that market where FHA is a lot of times used for first time home buyers, and they're starting to take advantage of it a little bit around here is what we're seeing. The new mortgage insurance is helping some.
Right, and the I saw a number someplace and I didn't. The number of loans that go through that are actual FHA are really pretty low, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, as far as like for my office, if it's 15%, that would be a good number. I don't even think it's that.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, I think that according to it was pretty close to that. Wherever I read that, Yeah.
We got some more rural offices that do the majority FHA.
Yeah.
Some First Trust offices in different states and different rural areas that do a lot of government stuff. But
Help me. Let's talk about some. Let's talk about. We're gonna skip something that you and I see on the run of show. So we're gonna move something around, move things. Um, as the housing market cools, home buyers are putting less money down on a home. Is that been has that been your experience?
it's yes. I mean, we're definitely seeing fewer. Yes, one, it's harder to save money. With the cost of living and everything going up, and then um, the actual PMI on conventional is
Right.
fairly cheap as well. So sometimes it might be worth it to keep some of your cash on hand and not invest the full 20%.
Which is for anybody that's new to the market, and for some reason, I had somebody tell me this. Just because I know it doesn't mean everybody does. Meaning, I'm in the real estate business. Rodney's in the lending business. Probably one of the most common questions people ask, even today, and I say that, I don't know why, that's a silly thing to say, that one of the most common questions that I'll get is, well, I can't buy now because I can't put 20% down.
Uh,
That's,
yes.
I mean, and you would think, only because I've been so exposed to it, that everybody's got that word.
I don't know how they have it, honestly. They haven't Googled
But the
one
professor
thing.
tell you, everybody doesn't have that word. The word is not out.
Yeah. Tell them to Google it. Honestly, if you're looking at buying a house, I mean, if you just Google for 1 second, low down payment mortgages, you're going to run across, excuse me, you're going to run across several that are good loans. You're going to have your FHA loans, your state products. You're going to have your Fannie Mae 3% down ones. Yeah, especially if you're a veteran, goodness gracious, that's a great loan. Your veteran eligibility.
Right.
RD, if it's a more rural property or in a certain census tract, RD may do that, zero down. So yeah, there's some options.
Yeah, you've got more options than you think. And that I would make an argument. I don't know if this is out of my lane or not, but be careful. I'm just going to say it this way. If you are a first time home buyer and you decide to Google for loans and stuff, my caution is there's some tantalizing information that you'll find. My suggestion is talk to somebody in your town or somebody that you get a referral from, that you know their phone number and you can call them and talk to them. Because companies that where it's hard to get a hold of people may or may not be your best choice. I'm not trying to say anybody's good, bad, or indifferent, but there's big companies out there that I'm saying the personal touch with somebody that has a shop, meaning a lender, local, is probably going to serve you better. Somebody where you could actually go to their office and say, "Hey, what are we doing with this?" But as opposed to 100% digital. Hope I don't get any pushback from that, but that's just been my experience.
Yeah, no, I love our digital platform where they pretty much can sign everything, and just a few documents at closing. But you know, I am local. I'm sitting right here. My underwriter's right here. My processor's right here. We do everything right here. It's just we also have a digital platform that's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we always try to say it's like high tech, high touch. If that's kind of a thing. Because it's you have all technology in the world, but if people don't understand it and have questions, it don't do you any good.
Well, and that's the thing. Now, I mean, digital is everything. I'm not suggesting it for a second, and I'll back myself out of this corner. I think I got myself into. I'm not suggesting that digital the digital processor problem. That's not what I'm saying. It's
Right.
when you're talking to your LO, your loan officer. That's the stuff. I figured with Rodney, the way they've got things, if Apple were to make a mortgage company, it'd look like what Rodney has. That's the way I would. That's the way I'd characterize
Something like that. I like Apple products, but there's one the best loan officer origination system in the world is not compatible with Apple.
it. Oh, really?
Yeah, so daggone it, we got a little ways to go there. You know how Apple just doesn't share anything. It's like if it's not Apple, it's not Apple. So
It's you're not in the sandbox anyway. So so the median down payment for U.S. homes in dollars has gone down. You can see that pretty clearly has dropped significantly in just this last. I mean, from April. I know if you're looking at at a phone, you can't see this, but from July 22, it was all the way up to 65, and down in January, it's just a skosh over 40. So that's changed. Then the next one, the median percentage down payment for U.S. home buyers with mortgages, and that skyrocketed there just a little bit when we were in our high point this last couple of years, and has dropped back down to what I'm going to call normal. Here's the one. We've seen this, I guess, quite a bit, huh, Rodney? Is people buying cash. Boy, that's gone up quite a bit.
yeah,
Homes purchased with cash hits a 9-year high. And then here we go. Oh yeah, share of home sales using FHA loans reaches the highest level in nearly 3 years, and that's up to. Look at you, Ronnie. It's right at what you said. It's coming across as 16, but 15 is pretty close. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, so that's changed a lot.
yeah. That's why it's weird, but I feel like I understand it since people aren't competing, is this what it is? Since people aren't doing all these cash offers with all this stuff and competing so heavily, so
Yeah.
now they're deciding to put less down. I guess because they may have said, "Well, okay, well, I'm paying cash or I'm paying whatever."
Yeah.
Uh, all that appraisal gap stuff. It's interesting that they're coming in with less down payment.
Well, I think that probably, check me on this. My guess is that probably with the way the market has changed with home prices, now they've been dropping, but they're still housing is still a little bit expensive. It is. The last couple of years has changed the complexion of that. And if you had your mouth set on a particular kind of house for X amount of dollars and it skyrocketed in price, if you can stretch and still get that kind of house, but it's more expensive, you're probably going to dial back the down payment if the lender will let you stretch to that extra dollar
Yeah,
amount.
yeah, I get it. Keep some cash on hand. I mean, I get it. And a lot of these buyers, I wouldn't think have, we've been talking about for a month or two that the most houses that have been selling anyways are the lower price ones. So that would in turn mean a lower down payment too. So
Yeah, yeah, and I've seen examples. I've got buyers in a couple of different places looking at stuff. Um, and for anybody that is just getting into the market and wants to know what's actually happening in the field, I'm telling you what Rodney has been preaching, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but he's been declaring for months now that his experience has been for a house that's priced right and in good shape, they're getting multiple offers. Well, I've got buyers that were looking at properties, and it's the same scenario where a house went on the market. It was in perfect condition, only it was a couple of years old, so it was updated nicely. It was priced right, perfect condition, multiple offers within just a few hours. So,
yeah,
but understand that real estate is still very active. You know, but the houses that are overpriced and not fixed up, they don't get to play in that league. That's just, they don't, you know. And you know, we've said before, if you want deals, look for the houses that have high days on market. And
Right.
that's where you'll find that. But anyway, so so that brings us really kind of to there's a bunch of other stuff, but we'll cut it down to this last one. The main topic would that kind of rolls into what we were talking about, Rodney, is that home prices suddenly jump after months of declines. Here we go. There we go. How long has it been going on for now? Prices have been dropping down for like 11 months in a row, or crazy numbers that prices have been dropping, right?
Yellow.
Did I lose you?
No, 100%. I mean, yeah. I mean, we talk about this one every it's 0.5% here and 0.5% there.
Yep. But the prices nationally, they rose almost 2% in February when seasonally adjusted according to Black Knight, a big data company. So, but the point is, I'm not a bit surprised. We were talking about this last week. What's going to happen? Let's guess. What's going to happen when rates actually do go down significantly? 6, 5, 9, 8. 5,
Yeah.
9. Do you think that buyers are going to come out of the woodwork?
I think it's going to be like a slow triculation into the market. With every eighth as it goes lower, it triggers another hundreds of thousands of people to enter the market across the country. So yeah, I think it's just going to continue to do that until we have a little bit of a shortage, a housing shortage again in our area.
Right.
You know, I haven't studied all the other areas, but I do know that in my opinion, I don't think we have enough inventory for a good rate environment.
Right. And the reason that I'm not surprised by this particular article is supply and demand is always that's going to be the fundamental. It's just going to be there. And if prices get better, where buyers want to come out of the woodwork, and it's spring.
Mhm.
Competition, we were just talking about multiple offers. Competition will spread into houses that maybe aren't perfect, but 80% instead of 100%. It's going to have more buyers, less inventory, prices are going to go up. I'm simply not shocked. It said of the 50 largest U.S. markets, 39 saw home prices, 39 out of the 50 U.S. markets, so it's broad-based, rose in February. That's a quick turnaround from November when prices were fallen in 48 of 50 markets.
That turnaround, if it continues, that's a fast turnaround.
3 months, November, December, January, so 4 months, from 48 down to 39 up. I mean, and golly.
Yeah.
Plus, is it too early to bet on the Fed funds rate?
It might be just a hair early.
All things being equal, if things stay the same, I think it's going to be no change this next month. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my prediction in case another bank throws in a collapse or something else.
So Philip's on here. He said, so he looked at a house that needs a lot of work, medium neighborhood. Guy bought it at peak time. Will sell for a loss, still overpriced. Should he wait? Should he wait for price improvement? I think is probably the question. I would have to say rent for a minute if he's got that sort of landlord DNA.
What I thought his question was,
Yeah, you're
He
usually better.
owned. He owned and he was going to sell. I thought he was asking you if he needs to sell that.
So he looked at a house that needed a lot of work, medium neighborhood. Guy bought it at peak. Will sell for a loss, still overpriced. Should he wait?
Should the guy wait to sell it?
Yes, that's the way I read it. Yes,
Yeah.
and I mean, yeah, boy, you need to look at that stuff. If it's been updated and upgraded and it looks really nice and it's priced right, his only hope at this juncture, at this point in time, is going to be multiple offers. That's the only thing he can count on. Because I mean, I'm not laughing, but if you bought at the peak, well, you bought at the peak, and
Yeah.
that,
I'm still a long term investment guy.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't, if keep it, sell it in 20 years.
zero upgrades. Ah, yeah. Well, I would say, I mean, if he's got that landlord DNA, because not everybody's wired for that. I'm guilty. I tried that, and it's not my strength. But I would say if he can tolerate that rent thing, wait a little bit and see what happens to the market. Because we just last month crossed call it the Rubicon, where the year over year actually was less than the year before, just like 1%, 1.7%, I think it was. Wasn't very much, but it's still less than it was a year ago. And due to my predictions, not trying to be a smart guy, but people sensationalize and run with things. And there was just tons of videos and all kinds of blogs about the real estate markets falling apart because
Yeah.
they dropped. Doesn't mean anything, They're dropping as much as they were last quarter. It's just that we've crossed that year over year mark. But anyway, so I'm not. Bottom line, as we wrap it up here, I'm not at all surprised that prices jumped.
Me either.
I'm not at all. I'm not. I'm not. But that's more on the broad spectrum. When we're looking at, it gets me to thinking. Philip, he's got a way of getting me thinking. Yeah, he's have to wait. He's just gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to call him. So, Rodney, any final thoughts? I had a couple of other things, but I'm gonna save that
No,
for.
final thoughts to kind of wrap up on that appraisal thing is, Fannie's doing some things to join the digital world and try to make the process easier as
Yeah.
far as appraisals concerned. So, I look at it as a lot of good stuff. Of course, our housing market's going to be what it is. Our supply and demand, depending on what county you're in. But it looks like you've already said. I mean, February prices like took a jump. So, I
Well,
would love to see more first time home buyers kind of dominating the market right now, but it just looks like you know maybe price has gotten away from it. It's not the perfect timing for them or whatever, but you know,
but
it,
you know what? In the end, though, Rodney, with the trend, like we were just talking about, prices were dropping a little bit, and trust me, it's not. I mean, it's super slow. I mean, that's the way prices are coming down. But when you put it all together, prices are improving for first time buyers. If you've got FHA or those guys that are trying to make it a little bit easier, because if you're a buyer and you don't have to pay $500 or whatever it is for an appraisal, that's a win. And then the
right.
other benefit they had, where I think it was a PMI thing, where you save $800, right? For for that, I think
Oh, yeah.
that's
Right,
for
right. The FHA lowered the mortgage insurance premium, where like a $250,000 house may save you $800 a year in insurance,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
So
that's
I mean,
good.
if
Yeah,
you're, and so then we button that all up and we put them trying to make things a little more modern with the automated underwriting and the appraisal, again, for a house that's a dead giveaway, one you just know that's going to appraise. And then with the systems like you've got, Rodney, that are super slick and super effective and I don't know about 100% digital, but you've got digital approach to signatures and all that kind of stuff, plus the personal touch. I mean, these are good days. These are good times for first time buyers. I wanted to give them hope because you know what, you're going to be okay. And long term, even this guy that overbought, if he waits, he'll make money down the road for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to overbuy. It's hard to overpay for an appraisal when you're getting a loan. Honestly, it's hard to it's hard to overbuy.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
you got too many checks and balances that is going to keep the homeowner in line with that.
Well, which is different than it was a couple of years ago, and that's what's I think it's so exciting that we've seen the worst of it. We're well beyond that. So, any well, Ronnie, I can't thank you enough. That was fun. That was a lot
Yeah,
of fun stuff.
enjoyed it.
Any final words of wisdom before we say goodbye to everybody?
No, good to see Philip on here, and we'll catch you next week.
And I know Angie's going to watch the replay, so we're going to say
Right.
hi. Philip, Wendy, see you guys. Talk to you later.
See
Bye,
ya.
Ron.
See ya.